Officer, today's powerful new sanctions against hundreds of Putin allies are another critical step in U.S. leadership, bringing our allies together to ratchet up pressure on Russia to halt its brutal invasion of Ukraine. I think, Mr. President, Putin has been shocked by a couple things. Putin has been shocked that the Ukrainians have had such furious, effective, courageous resistance. He didn't see that coming. The other thing that's shocked Putin has been that the skill that President Biden, with which President Biden assembled this coalition of countries to stand up to Putin, to provide assistance to refugees and assistance to Ukrainians in their country, to provide military assistance, and to put the squeeze on sanctions against Russia. He's assembled this coalition skillfully including countries like Germany and Sweden and Finland and Switzerland, even countries that never really played here, nobody really expected. And Biden has brought them in a coalition and extracted, and with the right kind of target on sanctions. Where sanctions, in addition to sanctioning the banks and the oil companies, in addition to sanctioning the oligarchs and Putin himself, the president's announcing now sanctioning Russian parliamentarians and the parliament itself, the Russian Duma, dozen more Russian arms merchants and defense firms that have enabled this war, and additional Putin cronies, including the CEO of Russia's largest banks. I don't understand opposition to what we're trying to do. I don't know. Do we have members of the Senate, perhaps, that for whatever reason side with Putin or side with the oligarchs? I don't know. But this is legislation we ought to be able to get moving quickly through this body as it did in the House. As long as Putin's invasion goes on, we'll continue to lead the world, turning up the heat and weakening Russia's war machine. Today, I come to the floor to support the removal of permanent normal trade relations with Russia. It's not, as the presiding officer from Maryland knows, it's not the first time a number of us have been concerned about our government's mistakes, in large part because of corporate lobbying, on permanent normal trade relations with countries around the world. One of the worst decisions ever made in this body, or at least in recent history, and the damage it did to manufacturing in the industrial Midwest and elsewhere, was giving permanent normal trade relations to China and the advantages that gave them, so American companies, always in pursuit of cheaper labor, if going south wasn't good enough, they'd go to Mexico, then they'd go to China, close the plants in Ohio or Western Maryland, move to China, open up plants there with cheap labor and with pretty much non-existent environmental regulations, and then ship those jobs back to the United States. That was permanent normal trade relations with China that we gave them some 20 years ago. There was a horrible mistake, but today this is about, for a different reason, permanent normal trade relations with Russia that we have granted. The president's already committed to ending permanent normal trade relations with Russia. The House has already passed a bill ending PNTR with Russia. So what are Senate Republicans waiting for? Russia should not have free and unlimited access to America's economy or to the global economy. There should be no place for Putin and his cronies to hide. We're trying to get this done in the Senate. I was on the floor yesterday hoping we could see this done then. 24 hours more has passed. 24 hours more of Putin attacking as a war criminal people in Ukraine, people who are innocent, people who should never have to deal with this. Another night in Ukraine under fire from an unprovoked Russian advance on civilian families. Another day of destruction of civilian buildings in peaceful cities. So waiting every day hurts the Ukrainian people. We need to do our part to give the president immediate legal authority. He needs to work with our allies on this, to shut off access to favorable tariff treatment for Russia's goods here and around the world. Senator Paul, one Republican senator needs to relent to let us pass this. I mean, I know what Liz Cheney, a member of the House, the daughter of Vice President Cheney under President Bush. I know what she said some time ago. She talked, and she's a Republican, talked about the Putin wing of the Republican Party. I have no idea who in this body is in the Putin wing of the Republican Party, but I do know that there's resistance on the other side of the aisle to doing what we need to do to give President Biden even more tools to do even more than he's already done in this. The bill passed the House with a nearly unanimous vote. We need to finalize it in the Senate so we can ratchet up the pressure further, cut off Russia's ability to finance its unprovoked invasion of another member country of the World Trade Organization. Even before this war, we knew that Russia, like China, games the rules. They cheat on trade. I said it yesterday on the floor. They subsidize their industries. They pollute the environment to gain that unfair advantage. It's cheaper to make something if you don't dispose of waste, or you put contaminants into the air instead of disposing of them in another way. Ohioans know all too well about being forced to compete with countries that cheat. Why have we let another day go by with this still on the books? If we don't remove it now, Russia will continue to use this status to position their industries in the global market, hurting American companies in the process. It's not a partisan issue. A couple of weeks ago, maybe almost a month ago, I introduced a bicameral bipartisan bill with Senator Cassidy of Louisiana to remove Russia's permanent normal trade relations status. There's bipartisan support to do this quickly. I've worked with my colleague Senator Crapo on many Russian sanctions efforts over the years. I trust him. I know we share the same goals. But it's Senator Paul, speaking for whoever on this, not letting this bill through. I'm hopeful there's a path forward. I hope we can work out differences quickly. An overwhelming majority of this body wants to move. We should all stand together saying countries that invade a sovereign nation will not have free and unrestricted access to our economy, period. Again, countries that invade another sovereign nation should not have free and unrestricted access to our economy. It's time to come together to end permanent normal trade relations with Russia.